It's Monday, November 6. In the headlines in local news, JUTC acquires 6 new CNG buses. In business news, we feature this week's Young Boss. Regionally, ABS Prime Minister praises post-COVID economic growth, and internationally, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Turkey to hold talks with Foreign Minister. And finally, in sports, West Indies cricketer Sunil Narine retires. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Brittany Clark. Jamaican commuters will soon be seeing new JUTC buses on their various routes. This as the Jamaica Urban Transit Company has procured 6 additional CNG buses. The buses received utilize compressed natural gas CNG, which makes travel safer since they reduce harmful vehicular exhaust, gas emissions like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and other suspended particles. These buses are larger and so are able to seat 50 people and can accommodate up to 20 standing passengers. Managing Director of the JUTC, Paul Abrahams, says the new units will help to bolster service to commuters who rely on public transport. There are 14 additional buses scheduled to arrive in December. The Copyright Amendment No. 2 Act of 2023 has been passed. The amendment was passed in the Upper House on Friday after Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Senator Aubin Hill, explained that the regulations to accompany the legislation are not yet in place. He stated that the Copyright Act was amended in 2015 and a new Section 87A was included requiring the registration of all licensing bodies. He furthered that despite being given extensions in 2018, 2019 and 2021, the 3 collective management organizations, CMOs, operating in Jamaica, namely the Jamaican Copyright Licensing Agency, JAMCOPY, Jamaica Association of Composers, Authors and Publishers, JCAP, and Jamaica Music Society, JAMS, continues to operate in contravention to the Act. Therefore, as a result of the aforementioned, it was determined that it was prudent to amend the transition period with retroactive effect to commence from July 30, 2015, since the order in 2018 was promulgated after the transition period had lapsed. The legislation was also amended to provide protection from liability for persons who, from July 30, 2015, acted pursuant to Section 154 of the Act. Only 20% of the 365 recommendations made by the Professor Orlando Patterson-led Jamaica Education Transformation Commission report is currently being implemented. According to the Patterson report, there are 7 pillars of transformation within the education sector. These are governance, legislation, leadership and administration, early childhood education, curriculum teaching and teacher training, the tertiary sector, technical and vocational education and training, TVET, infrastructure and technology, and financing. Speaking at the inaugural Transforming Education for National Development Trend Town Hall meeting last week, Minister of Education and Youth, Favour Williams, said implementing the recommendations made in the report is no easy task.
We have started the work on implementation. There have been a series of consultations as well, a lot of different activities. We've chosen the theme, Transforming Education for National Development Trend, to guide our engagements in the coming months. It is crucial that we all understand the objectives of this transformation and the ongoing programs. The ministry has made significant investments to modernize and improve the delivery of education services and enhance the learning outcomes of Jamaican students.
On the matter of early childhood education, Minister Williams spoke of unifying the learning objectives of both private and public facilities in that sector.
Be it understood that the way that we're structured in Jamaica in the early childhood sector currently, Jamaica, when you look at the number of schools, the Jamaican government owns only 20% of the early childhood institutions in this country. The remaining 80% are owned by private individuals. who operate a business, who charge for their services. We want to work together with those private individuals to ensure that they come up to standard and that they have trained professionals within those early childhood institutions.
And on the matter of tertiary education,
as you know, we have currently a relatively low level of enrollment relative to the region and to developed countries. We would love to get the percentage of young people who go on to tertiary significantly higher than it is right now. The last time I read our draft policy, we are looking at getting up to the 85% range versus kind of where we are now, below 30%.
The meeting, which was held inside the Jamaica College Auditorium, gave the ministry and other stakeholders an opportunity to outline how the recommendations are being implemented. Permanent Secretary in the ministry, Dr. Kassan Troop, says in addition to town hall meetings, they are going to be doing school pop-up events starting at St. Andrew Technical High School. Time now for the Business Report with Danita Rodney.
This week's young boss is paving his way in the world of professional training and coaching. He is founder of Select and Start, Jeffrey Azan.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Azan and I am the Managing Director of Select and Start Limited. Jeffrey Azan is, as many may suspect, born to the retail Azan family, born and bred in it. I've been working in retail from I've been about 9 years old. Every summer, every Christmas, worked up until 2016. Left retail in 2016 after a number of serendipitous events, which helped me to uncover what I really enjoyed, which was training, teaching, and motivating. And when I left Azan's, I started my personal and professional development company, Select and Start Limited. Select and Start, if anybody doesn't pick it up, the name was actually inspired by video games. And in video games, very often if you want to get through something easily, you input a cheat code. And there's a famous Konami code, if any gamers out there, it's up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, A, B. Used on all of the Konami products, and it was this super code. And this super code gave you infinite lives, perfect ammo, perfect run, super speed, whatever it was. But for some of the games, the code didn't work unless you then input select and start. And I thought it was really interesting that, similar to life, we may know all the moves, we may know all the actions, but the cheat code doesn't really work until we select, make a decision, and start taking action. And so from that inspired the idea of Select and Start. Let's make some decisions, take some action, ultimately change our game to change our life. And I've had a lot of fortune working with a number of clients across Jamaica to provide from motivational speeches to workshops, to being a part of their seminars, to one-on-one coaching, to business consultation, and a number of other small niche services in between, helping them to raise their standard of leadership, their perspective, and ultimately business operations. And so I would say that we're going strength to strength. When I started this company officially, or started the dream officially in 2013, if I treat that as ground zero, then I can say every year has been a little bit better, and we've been growing non-stop. So when I really discovered my passion, because that's where it starts. It started with me figuring out, what do I do well, what do I want to do, and what would I want to grow better at? And it really came from a conversation with a mentor of mine who I had met maybe 2 years prior, who said, Jeff, you know, no matter what businesses I see you in, project, title, you're always doing the same thing. You're always motivating people and training people. Why don't you just do that? And it was through that guidance, that's what I started. I just started trying to motivate people, started doing a lot of work. I reached out to organizations that were about this, churches, community service groups. The YMCA, you could say, was my first client that I went and served at. And what would happen is that from service to service, you'd get requests for more specific talks. So I would start off, and for maybe my first 2 years, all I did was motivation. You can be the best. You can get the next level in life. And what would happen is I did a good job, and somebody would say, okay, I need you to now come and deliver a speech to my team, not just these social groups. And then from the team, I would get another invitation that would say, you know, I really loved when you spoke on this topic. I'd love you to come and do a workshop on just that topic. And it literally evolved naturally like that. I would do a presentation. From that presentation, I'd get a unique request, maybe for something I didn't specialize in yet. And I said, you know what, that's not far off from what I'm already doing. Let me see how I can pivot. And so I went from just motivational speeches to workshops, to professional consulting and individual coaching. Then from that, I would be invited into companies and ultimately now doing business consultation from everything from leadership to operations to team development, which are, I would say, my 3 key areas. To say that there were doubts in leaving the family business and going back or going out into the world, because this would be the first time I was really launching a business on my own, would be an understatement of the century. You can just imagine telling your very, very traditional mother, hey, I'm going to go speak for a living. And she went, that's a nice hobby. What are you going to do for work? And I got a lot of negative pushback initially. My grandfather, who recently passed, I looked up to him a lot. So I said, he's a dreamer, he'll get it, I'll go to him. And I remember the first consultant, he's like, I hear you, but how are you going to make money? And so literally everywhere I went that I thought these would be the people to support me, these are people who would just get it, I got a lot of, no, doesn't make sense. And what really kept me going were, I just call them chance moments. You go and you give a talk and somebody who you didn't think was a part of your audience will come to you and say, you know, you said this and it resonated with me. The favorite part about being an entrepreneur, it's certainly not running the business. Running the business is the most stressful part of it. The paperwork, the bills, the administration, the government, the taxes, the paper, yeah. My favorite part about my journey as an entrepreneur has been finding this avenue to launch my true self in its truest ways. Taking the stage, nothing brings me to life like having the opportunity to share. Working on products that I believe in that can make a difference. But would I have become an entrepreneur if there was an avenue to do that without creating my own business? Probably not. I don't think entrepreneurship is for everybody, and I'll use every platform to say it because there's too many people who want to be entrepreneurs just for the idea, and I stress the idea of working for themselves. Working for yourself means you're working for the hardest boss ever. There are no sick days, there's no 9 to 5, there's no taking Fridays off. You work 24/7, 365 because everything you do impacts the business and everything that happens in the business impacts you. So don't necessarily run down the idea of owning a business. And that's my take, and that's how I feel about my own entrepreneurship journey. I wasn't running down the desire of owning my own business. I was running down the opportunity to do what was inside me that I believe needed to be done.
Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Friday, November 3, the US dollar sold for an average of $157.17. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $114.72. The pound sterling traded for $191.14, and the euro sold for $168.93. In GSE trading, the GSE index declined by over 3,039 points. The junior market index advanced by over 25 points. The combined market index declined by over 2,613 points, and the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by over 1,366 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 108 stocks, of which 46 advanced, 43 declined, and 19 traded firm. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Viable Preference, and Barita Investments Limited. Trading firm were CAC 2000 Limited, Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited, and Diamond Trading Company Limited. The overall volume leaders were Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with over 1 million units, Dollar Financial Services Limited, and Edufocal Limited with over 900,000 units. In regional stocks in Trinidad and Tobago, the mutual fund market did not record any activity. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Government of Barbados Bond Series 1 was the volume leader with over 37,000 shares. They were followed by Government of Barbados Bond Series B and Epley Caribbean Property Fund Value Fund, which traded 27,000 and 2,000 shares respectively. In regional business, companies from several European countries will be coming on a 3-day trade mission to Guyana from November 20. European Union Ambassador René Van Ness announced on Friday. The ambassador, during a press conference, noted that this is the first time an EU trade mission will be coming to Guyana.
There have been numerous trade missions to Guyana over the past 3 years as the country's growth prospects make it an exciting place to do business. On November 20, the first ever European trade mission will be coming here to explore partnerships and investment opportunities. So says the EU ambassador to Guyana, René Van Ness, during a press conference on Friday.
And I can mention a few because I'm so excited about them possibly coming. The first one is Siemens. You probably know Siemens because they provide the turbines for the gas to shore project. Siemens is a massively big company. It's an old company, 170 years old, and they have an annual turnover about $100 billion US. That is big, so they will most likely come. We have Nokia. Nokia, you probably know from the old Nokia brick, the telephone that you had a few years ago. A Finnish company specialized in information technology and consumer electronics. And in many of those domains.
Notably, the ambassador said the development in Guyana is only now getting on their way, and there's much interest in the phenomenal growth trajectory here.
So the focus of that mission will be to go into a number of these sectors that I've mentioned, to explore areas of development, to look for possible partners, to look for investment opportunities, and we hope that that indeed will lead to a number of very concrete relations, investment opportunities that will materialize in the periods after that.
Meanwhile, the ambassador acknowledged that the Schengen visa issue, which has been a topic of much discussion locally, is a hindrance for deepening relations between the two sides. As parties work towards resolving this, he said deepening business relations would not be neglected.
In international business, Wall Street's main stock indexes rallied as bond yields fell sharply after data showed signs of slowing U.S. job growth and an uptick in unemployment, boosting hopes that the Federal Reserve is done with its interest rate hiking campaign.
The Dow gained nearly 0.7%, the S&P 500 increased more than 0.9%, and the Nasdaq climbed almost 1.4%. Data from the Labor Department showed the economy added a less than expected 150,000 jobs in October, partly due to strikes at Detroit's Big Three automakers. The unemployment rate also edged up to 3.9%, and the number of jobs added in September was revised lower, all reflecting a slowdown in job growth.
Where we're moving into is a more normalized job growth distribution and probably a more normalized unemployment rate.
Dryden Pence is Chief Investment Officer at Pence Capital Management.
So when we're looking at 3.8, 3.9, slight tick up, it gives the Fed more ammunition to do what they have in effect done. And that's kind of put on the pause, switch from this moment where we're worrying about not how high, but to how long. and they're going to let kind of duration do their job for them.
The payrolls data helped push U.S. Treasury yields lower for the fourth consecutive session. During the session, the benchmark 10-year Treasury yield hit its lowest level in over 5 weeks.
In market data for oil prices rose on Monday after top exporters Saudi Arabia and Russia reaffirmed their commitment to extra voluntary oil supply cuts until the end of the year. Brent crude futures rose $1.25 to $86.14, and the West Texas Intermediate crude was up $1.29 at $81.80 a barrel. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown remains confident of sustained economic growth for Antigua and Barbuda. He says this is the result of his administration's significant investments in the socio-economic infrastructure to create the platform for that expansion in economic activity. Garfield Burford reports.
In fact, our post-COVID growth has been in the region of about 8.5%, which is remarkable. In fact, this year, we will grow the country's economy by about 9 to 9.5%. And we expect to, by 2024, that we'll have a similar growth. So having lost 18% in 2020, we have actually recovered about 25% within the last 3 years.
With more growth in the forecast, the Prime Minister expects the economy to recover what has been lost since the COVID pandemic struck in 2020.
We have now exceeded the 2019 level of GDP, and by, I would say, the end of 2025, we would have not only recovered that 18%, but would have restored that annual average rate of growth of about 5%, which we achieved prior to COVID. And this is true testament of the performance, the resilience of the Antiguan and Barbudan people.
He was speaking on the opening of the freshly expanded Harrison Center Abyss on Thursday. He pointed to investments in education, such as this one, as being part of the platform for sustained economic growth. But it's clear the Prime Minister is not only focused on continued economic growth, but also wants continued economic development, which involves creating the ingredients needed to position the country for growth. He pointed to several investments in the socio-economic progress of the country, such as the cargo port redevelopment and UE5 Islands campus, as being part of this platform. He remains bullish on the future.
I'm steadfast in my vision for this country that Antigua and Barbuda will certainly become an economic powerhouse in the Caribbean. And I know many of you may not necessarily believe in this vision, but it is happening. And perhaps it's only after a period of decades you look back and recognize the progress that we have made. I mean, you had a nation literally on its knees as a result of COVID. Look at our post-COVID achievements, and you would see that the government, and certainly the people of Antigua and Barbuda collectively, that we have performed. And as a consequence, we are lifting our nation and its people.
Prime Minister Brown mentioned one of those projects which will require skilled workers, the kinds of skills that will be acquired at the expanded Abyss.
It's the one and only luxury resort out of the UAE that will be commencing construction in 2024. Again, we don't have the workers to pursue the construction of that resort. The principals of that hotel brand, they have actually purchased the Half Moon Bay property for over $100 million. So they're fully vested, and that hotel will certainly be constructed.
If Barbados and the region are serious about achieving their 2030 renewable energy targets, they need to ramp up the pace of their transition. That analysis from President of the Caribbean Development Bank, Dr. Jean Leon.
Achieving the regional target by 2030 will require an increase in our renewable energy penetration by approximately 43%, which translates to an increase of our capacity by an estimated 2,600 megawatts within 8 years. There is also the cost of energy transition, which is larger than any single institution can implement on its own. Our own internal estimates suggest that shifting renewable energy capacity in the region to just 320 megawatts per year from an average of approximately 25 megawatts per year will likely require an investment of approximately $1.2 billion annually, which is a 16-fold increase over current levels.
In international news, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in the Turkish capital Ankara on his latest diplomatic trip of the region. He is due to meet Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan to discuss the war in Gaza. The visit comes as relations between Israel and Turkey are strained, with both countries having recalled their envoys. Turkish President Erdogan has condemned Israel's attacks on civilians in Gaza.
Turkish and American positions are more and more divergent. So just in minutes, we're expecting the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, to arrive in the building, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Turkey, right behind me, and the meeting is expected to start in minutes with his Turkish counterpart. But yes, the positions of the both countries are extremely different. So we know that the top topic on the agenda of the meeting is the war in Gaza. So Americans are saying a humanitarian pause. That is what they are asking Turks to support. However, Turkish position is quite clear here. Turkey says that it wants an unconditional ceasefire. And the second issue is the prisoners. And the American side is asking Turkey to support this process and to put a pressure on Hamas, that Hamas releases the captives taken by Hamas on October 7th. But Turkish position here is quite different than the American position. Turkey says that the exchange of the prisoners must be mutual. So Hamas releasing the Israeli captives and Israel releasing the Palestinian prisoners. So we see that there are several issues that the positions are diverging here. But there is another side of the story today that's happening in Ankara today. So it is the cold treatment from Turks toward the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. Just after midnight, he has landed in Ankara, and there was not any high-level Turkish diplomat receiving him at the airport. And today, we have been informed that there's not going to be a joint presser after the meeting. And there is not going to be a meeting between President Erdogan and Antony Blinken as well. So all of these are telling us something. Usually when the Secretary of State visits Turkey, so there will be a joint presser between him and the Turkish Foreign Minister, and the Secretary of State will meet President Erdogan as well. So now these are not the cases. So it's telling us something. And just ahead of Blinken's visit, Turkey has recalled its ambassador to Israel for the consultations as well.
In sports, mystery spinner Sunil Narine has called it a day on his international career. The 35-year-old Narine made the revelation via his Instagram account earlier Sunday.
He represented the West Indies in 6 test matches, taking 21 wickets, while in 65 one-day internationals, he bagged 91 wickets, and in the format he is most famous for, T20s, he took 52 wickets in 51 appearances. He was also a member of the West Indies team that won the T20 World Cup in 2012. The former world #1 T20 bowler expressed his gratitude to his family, especially his father, his friends, teammates and coaches who aided him in his international journey. Narine, who is currently part of the TNT Super 50 team, also noted this will be his final domestic season, and winning the Super 50 title will be a great send-off for him. He will continue playing franchise T20 leagues for the foreseeable future.
West Indies Women A defeated the Thailand Women emerging team in the second match of the T20 Tri-Series played in Lahore.
It was a low-scoring affair at the Gaddafi Stadium as the West Indies Women A dismissed Thailand emerging for just 46 in 14.2 overs after winning the toss. West Indies got to the 47-run target in 13 overs, but it cost 5 wickets as the Thai bowlers troubled the regional side early in the chase. Kiana Joseph top scored with 11. Shabika Gajnabi and Tristan Hodge both registered 10 to help West Indies to the 5-wicket win. Joseph was adjudged player of the match. Thailand women emerging play Pakistan women A in the third match of the T20 Tri-Series on Sunday.
That's news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.